Lovely. Okay, so we're going to start with section 9.3 is what we're going to review, and we're going to review 9.3 and 9.4. And the reason why we're going to do that before we do our homework is because I think part of what's missing in the homework is the foundation. Okay, and so we're going to back up,
Bible?
and we're going to see, no, not that kind
Jesus
of
is the
foundation.
foundation.
Okay, so in 9.3, everything was multiplication and division. Okay, but there was no common denominator, there was none of that stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to back up, make sure that we understand that stuff first, and then we're going to go on. I think I've got extra problems for all of this. Okay, let's say that we have complete monomials. Y'all remember what a monomial is? There's just one term. There's no addition, there's no subtraction in it, okay? So what I need from you is as we go through this stuff, if you don't understand it, you've got to let me know, okay? I think you're gonna go, oh, this stuff is really easy. I think it's when we got to 9.5 that everything dropped out, okay? So let's just verify that. Let's say I have a 9xy to the fourth over just a 4x squared y. And they just say simplify. That's all they're wanting, is for you to simplify this problem. When it says simplify, that means it's like reducing a fraction. Okay, that's what simplify is going to mean. So I don't know if there's any problem with this, but you're going to have to make sure you tell me if there is. Okay, so if I look at the 9 and the 4, can anything go into both 9 and 4? No. Okay, so I can't do anything with those. What about the x and the x squared?
X is on the bottom.
Okay, there's an x on the bottom. Because I have an x to the first and an x to the second, I subtract and I get a 1. So I put the x where the larger exponent is. How about the y to the fourth and the y? Y to the third on the top. Okay, because I have a 4 minus 1, which is 3. The larger exponent is on the top, so I know the y to the third is on the top. So on the top, I have a 9y to the third. And on the bottom, I have a 4x, I forgot to mark out the y, but 4x. Once I get to this spot, make sure there's nothing else you can do, okay? If you've missed something here, it's going to show up right here and you can continue the problem. It's like reducing a fraction and reducing it again. Any problem with that? Is everybody okay with that? Okay, that's simplifying like a fraction like that. Okay. Then they put in here like multiplication of a fraction, okay, like that. So let's say I have something like this.
Five looks scary.
At least this math book doesn't use t's as much. Okay, the only thing that they've done different here is they've made it as a multiplication problem. Okay, now you literally, if you wanted to, you could multiply all the way across first on the top and on the bottom. Or you can reduce up and down, and you can reduce diagonally. Now, is anybody multiplying straight across before they reduce? Is everybody reducing diagonally and up and down? Okay. Yes, no? Okay. All right. You don't know what you're doing. Okay. How about if I do it both ways? Okay, so if I go ahead and I multiply straight across, I'm going to get a 30 because I'm going to take 5 times 6, and then I have an a to the third and an a to the fourth. What does that equal to?
7.
A to the 7th, because when the base numbers are the same and you're multiplying, you add the exponents. And a b to the 6th. Okay, y'all with me on the top? Everybody? I need either this or this, okay? Otherwise, I'm going to ask. Okay, Bella, you with me? Okay. All right.
Called out.
Well, she didn't shake her head either way, so I couldn't tell. Okay, 10 and a 2, that's what I'm saying. Y'all have to shake your head to keep me from calling on you, okay?
Cold.
10 and a 2 is a 20. I have an a squared. I don't have another a, so I have an a squared. And then I have a b to the fourth and a b to the second, so that's a b to the sixth, okay? Now I can reduce it if I want, okay? Because I have to. All right, so here we go. I don't know if you think that way is easier or the other way. So when I get over here, I have a b to the sixth and a b to the sixth, so that goes away. I have an a to the seventh and an a to the second, so I have an a to the fifth on the top. Then I have a 30 and a 20. What can go into both 30 and 20? 10. So that gives me a 3 on the top and a 2 on the bottom. So on the top I have a 3a to the fifth, and on the bottom I just have a 2. Okay? Now, if I was going to cross reduce before, I multiplied. Okay? I might do this one and this one as a 1 and a 2. This and this is going to give me an a. This and this is going to give me a b squared on the top. Then I might come over here and I go, well, this is a 3 and a 1, and that would be an a. Oops, I can't do those two. Never mind. I can do these two, b squared and b squared. And I think that's all I can do, because on the top then I have an a, and I have an a to the fourth, and I have a 3. So I have a 3a to the fifth, and on the bottom I have a 2, which is the same thing we got over there.
I think for me, it just depends on whatever I'm feeling.
And I would agree with you on that. It depends on the problem. If my mind goes, oh, I'm going to reduce it first, then I reduce it first. If my mind goes, oh, you know, this is real simple to multiply, I just multiply it straight across. I do it some ways sometimes, and some ways other times, okay? If you don't like that idea, then just pick away, you know, multiply straight across if you want, and then reduce.
You could do that. I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It's going to come up with the same answer, as long as you reduce it correctly. Okay, y'all good with that? Okay. Then they took these, and they made some division problems out of it. And the only thing that's different on the division is keep, change, flip. Just don't forget that you keep the first term, you change the middle term from a division to multiplication, and you flip the second term.
And you just multiply.
And you just do just what we just did. Okay, that's the only thing that changes on that. So we're good so far? Okay, then they complicate things. Okay, everything that we've done up here so far has been monomials, one term. When they add in binomials, trinomials, then you have to look and say, can anything be factored? Okay, y'all with me on that? Okay, let's look at one of these.
Why is running down being edgy? You're edgy today.
Okay, it's multiplication. I'm not going to flip anything. I think if I had to make a guess, this is where things started to fall apart. Okay,
This is where my life started.
you
falling apart.
have to be able to factor to be able to do this. Okay, and I think we talked a couple chapters back about, you know, if you don't get factoring down, it's gonna hurt. Okay, guys, it's gonna hurt from this point on. It's not just about this chapter. Geometry, you have to be able to factor in. Pre-cal, you have to be able to factor in. So you might as well learn now, okay, and get it over with. So let's take a little bit of time. I know this one can factor, I know this one can factor, and I know this one can factor, okay? So we're going to rewrite this as factors. If I see 3 terms like that, I should be thinking 2 sets of parentheses.
Get down.
2 sets of parentheses, okay? So I am going to unfoil this, okay? So let's just work on, I'm putting that right here, okay? This spot and this spot, I must be able to multiply together to get x squared. I don't have a lot of choices here, guys. What can I multiply together to get x squared?
7.
7, really? Okay. X and x, okay? Those are the only 2 things I can do. I don't have a whole lot of choices here, okay? This last spot, when I multiply those together, have to give me the 2y squared. So what can that be?
Minus 2.
Well, I'm not even worried about the addition and subtraction yet. Just tell me what I can multiply together to get the 2y squared. 2 and 1, so 2y and y, okay? Then I look, outside gives me xy. Inside gives me 2xy, okay? That's the inside of FOIL, remember? I want a negative xy out of this. So which one of those has to be negative to give me that?
The 2.
The 2, because then when I add those two, it gives me a negative xy, right? Are you with me? Okay, so if the 2 has to be negative, so that's going to give me a 2xy, and this has to be positive, then you can always go back and do FOIL to make sure it gives you that. Double check it, okay? What about the bottom of this? That's the difference of squares. If I have two terms, that's what I always want to look for, okay? Other than that, and I don't think you're going to have any that are like the sum of cubes or the difference of cubes. So when you look at this, go, is it a subtraction? If it's not a subtraction, you can't do anything except for maybe factor something out. Okay, but if it's a subtraction, you look to see if it's a difference of squares. Okay, 2 sets of parentheses. What's the square root of that? What's the square root of x squared? X. That goes in the first spot. What's the square root of that? Y. Y'all with me or not? Okay. One's a plus, one's a minus. Okay, you factor the difference of squares. Then I'm going to come over here to this side. First thing I'm going to do, and I would do the same thing over here, but I couldn't do anything with it. I'm going to look to see if all three of those terms have something in common. Do they?
What was that?
Do all three of these terms,
A 3?
they have a 3 in common. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out the 3. And that's going to leave me x squared plus 2xy
Oh my gosh.
plus y squared. Okay? Now, can that be factored? Yeah, it's a trinomial, so I'm gonna, and this is gonna be my cheat spot up here because I'm gonna run out of room if I don't. Okay, what can I multiply together to get x? And I gave you part of it, x squared. X times what gives me x squared? X. So x and x are gonna go there. What needs to go in that spot? Y, okay, because y times y gives me y squared, right? If you look, these are all plus. Pretty sure that's going to be plus. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to erase it and I'm going to put this down in it for the sake of space. Can I do anything with the bottom one? No. Okay, now keep in mind, I'm not adding or subtracting. I don't care anything about common denominators. This is before we ever hit common denominators. So everything that I have here is multiplied, which means now I can slash stuff out. Okay, if I have it on the top and I have it on the bottom, it goes away. But I can't separate those brackets. So everything inside the bracket has to go together. So I have an x plus y and x plus y. I have an x plus y and an x plus y. And that's about all I can do. So on the top, I have a 3 times an x plus y times a x minus 2y. And on the bottom, I have an x minus y. Now I can't take this and slash it out because that whole thing would have to go for me to do so. Okay, do you understand that? These are all what we call factors. This is a factor, this is a factor, factor, factor. Factors are things you multiply together to get something. The entire factor has to go for you to eliminate it out. Okay? Y'all with me? Okay, this stuff wasn't hard, right? Y'all got this?
This is probably the
Should
hard
give us
one.
one to do.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna give you one to do. Okay?
7 you do.
We'll warm up that one. We'll warm up on one. This will be a relatively easy one.
Just minus.
try that. Don't forget to factor things out if you can, okay?
The whole thing is factoring things out, what you mean?
Well, like over there on the 8a minus 48, don't think that it stays like that.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying. I'm back to it up there. Okay, don't look up here if you're still working. The answer is circled up there, so then check your answer. Good.
I forgot to reduce the four.
Four no.
But I mean, does that, like, give me points off?
Yeah, but it's not gonna be full points. There'll probably be a point here. If you show me your work and I can figure out what you're doing, it's probably a point. You know, no, I never do a half, but the lowest I would ever do would be 1. Okay, so it really just depends on if everything else is right and that's the only thing that you've messed up on, then it's gonna be a very minor point.